So welcome everyone. Thanks for staying with us here. I know it kind of runs into the later afternoon on a nice, beautiful day. That's usually how it is. But hey, you finally have some Red Sox fans in representation. So let's get a little round of applause going for that. So again, my name is Ian Kilburn, and with me is Phil Capizzi. And we'll just jump right into it, everyone. So again, Ian Kilburn here. I've been with the division since October 2019. My entire adult life has been in public service. I've worked as an EMS responder, a dispatcher. Go Rays. All right, Dan. So I really do have a deep-rooted passion in alert and warning and just general public service. Phil.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So I am coming up on 3 years now at Everbridge. I've been dedicated to Vermont for about 2. Sort of a parallel life to Ian. I did have some public services, 911 EMS in the city of Boston for a handful of years, mostly during college. Did a lot with emergency management in that time. Was not working during the marathon bombings, thank God, but had plenty of friends that were. So big crises and public response to them, something that's near and dear to me, especially having been in the city when that whole thing went down. So I've been supporting the team here. Ian is your guru, so all questions absolutely go to him, but I'm here to support as well and help keep the system running at full capacity. And I do want to say that Vermont has been one of the leaders in terms of Everbridge deployments at the state level for quite some time. So it is an honor and a privilege to be able to work with you guys and support the effort here. So thanks for giving us a little time today.
All right. So just a little background history on the Vtlr program. So coordination to implement and develop a mass notification tool to alert Vermont citizens began around 2010. We launched the Vtlr program in 2013. And that really was an all-encompassing organization. Everything lived in one catch-all container. And then 2017, we transitioned over to the Everbridge platform, where we still title the program as VT Alert, but it is one piece of the overall picture here. So Phil, nothing like a vocab lesson, so take it away for this.
Thank you. Yeah, always happy to teach more vocabulary. So I know we're at the end of the day, guys. I'll do my best to keep my stuff interesting. I know this can get a little bit dry. Everbridge terminology, right? So we have a new system here. You may or may not have some exposure to it. We have some core, terminology that you'll probably want to get used to. We have acronyms too, but we won't go into those today. Contacts. So if someone can receive a message from Everbridge via a text message, an email, a phone call, that person's a contact. All right, that's what we call a contact in our system. So it's somebody who receives our messages. User would be this group here today. So people that have administrative capability within the platform can go in there, send those messages that our contacts would receive. And then, be able to go in there and facilitate that message sending potentially from a higher level. So Ian is both a user and a contact for the Vermont system because he lives in the state. I am simply a user due to the fact that I do not live there and receive the public alerting. I mean, I do for testing purposes, but we'll pretend I don't. So I would be just a user. Manager is another title we have floating around in there, sort of a subset of a user. It just now gets into a specific level of access within the system that you have. We have dispatchers, which highlighting here, we can actually manage and send out messages, schedule notifications to go out ahead of time, manage any active alerting the system is pushing out, leverage some of the visual capabilities we have in what's called the Universe tab. And then a group manager is sort of a separate level of access from a dispatcher. And you have basically controlled messaging that you're able to send to predefined groups ahead of time. And those levels of access here, dispatcher and group manager, both managed by myself and Ian as the administrators at the higher level of level of access within the system. An organization, if we refer to an org or an organization, is simply the silo where your Everbridge information will live, right? So if you are supporting public alerting through Vtlr, we have reverse 911 data that lives in the Vtlr organization, right? So it's siloed, it stays there, it doesn't bleed over into the Department of Corrections, for example, or Vermont Department of Health. And then location data. So within our platform, we do have the ability to assign location data to a contact, right? So if you were someone who wanted to put in your home address when you sign up and opt into the system as a contact, you could do that, right? You could choose to provide that information to the system, and then the system can use that information to send you geo-targeted and geo-specific messaging when those alerts go out.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. I know a vocab lesson isn't really what you were all signed up for, but it does play a key component in what we're describing going forward here. So what is Vtlr? So the Vermont Department of Public Safety, Division of Emergency Management, we utilize the Everbridge platform as its mass notification tool, both for the public, which is the Vtlr organization, as well as many other organizations, groups, subgroups for targeted group notifications, and we'll get into that a little bit. Really, the key here is that quick dissemination of emergency information by utilizing multiple delivery methods. We're in a very connected world these days where we have multiple lines of ways of receiving information, so we can utilize and target that. Again, Vtlr is our public-facing organization. This number here, the 32,629, was current as of last night. That are all of our subscribers within that system. So it's kind of a drop in the pan when you take into consideration the entire population of Vermont, but we're steadily growing even over my tenure. And then we utilize a subscription plan, so to speak, where when you sign up and create an account, in order to receive notifications, you can kind of sign up for what the information in which you want to receive. So included in that is not limited to this. Trust me, I've got a big splash screen that shows how many different types of alerts you can send out via Vtlr. But here's just some of the highlighted ones. We do have the automated weather alerts that come over through the National Weather Service. Road closures, missing persons, structure and wildland fires, the list goes on. So trained dispatchers, as Phil highlighted earlier, whose agencies or municipalities who have adopted the program are able to send notifications out. Those include, municipal governments, state agencies, nonprofit organizations. We also have the public alerting capability through IPAWS, or the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. This is a program kind of co-led by FEMA and the Federal Communications Commission. And both FEMA, the FCC, as well as Everbridge provide us guidance in how to send messages through these capabilities. Comprising the IPAWS system are two separate pieces there. There's the emergency alert system, which is broadcast media, and the wireless emergency alert system, formerly known as CMAS, or WEA as it's referred to in its short code. Those are the push notifications to your cell phones. The nice thing about IPAWS is we don't need to target our 32,000 and change subscribers. We can push this message out a little bit further and a little wider net to get our emergency communications out there. Specific to IPAWS, the Division of Emergency Management is the only alerting authority for the state of Vermont. So if you need that level of notification sent out, you do need to contact us, and that flows through our watch officer, something that Brett might speak on tomorrow. So And here's my shameless plug. If you don't have an account, please sign up today. You can follow the links via vtlr.gov and create your account. So Phil, as we get into the different ways in which we can notify people, do you mind just explaining the different channels and different methods just real quick for everyone?
Yeah, can do. So one thing, sort of a major designation, I think here is what Ian dropped right on the slide is we have outbound communication methods that are supportive of, I would say, non-emergency use cases and then immediate life safety use cases. So the first example that comes to mind would be under IPAWS, WIA, or EAS, a tornado warning, active tornado warning from the National Weather Service, right? That is an immediate life safety threat. That is going to leverage something like IPAWS and WIA. Those specific delivery methods are reserved for those times where, people imminently could be, hurt or killed by something that's going on. That's sort of separate from the other ones that you see here, although these can all be used in unison to get the word out that something bad has happened. I'm going to call out one thing here. I don't know if the 300,000 simultaneous phone calls is an accurate number. I think it's actually higher than that, just to toot our own horn a little bit here. But Everbridge is built, it's built on the network capabilities that we have now as a state. So what I'm getting at is we're only as good as what we're built upon, right? So while there may be some ways that I can send somebody a message, we may be lacking cell coverage in certain parts of the state, right? That happens all the time. To make up for gaps in delivery capability, we support, I think it's somewhere around 40 different modalities, what we call modalities, or ways that we can deliver a message out. We have our Everbridge app. There's my shameless plug, right? So that is owned by Everbridge. It's an endpoint where we can send messages. It's the fastest, it's the most secure. It has geo-targeted alerting. So if you download it and you're in the state of Vermont, you cross over to our home here down in Massachusetts, and we have an active alert out for an Amber Alert or something like that. You would get that when you come into the state through the Everbridge app, right? Because you can choose to let it use your location in the background and give you those geolocated alerts as they're coming through. More traditionally, I can send it to you via email, right? So you can, through that opt-in process, if we're just talking about Vtlr for the public alerting, if you find Vtlr, you create your profile. You can provide me 1, 2, 3, 4 email addresses for your profile if that's something you think would be relevant to you. Cellular-based outreach, I can send to SMS-capable devices. I can send one-way SMS. I can send plain text emails, plain text SMS. I can push out to mobile and landline phones. So I can have a sort of automated voice play a message back to you if you pick up that phone when it rings. I can support TTY device delivery, and sort of, with the message equity piece that was brought up before, our efforts to remake part of the Vtlr system are going to support multilingual messaging, in the next year or so, right? So essentially we'll be able to come in here, hit all of these delivery methods and deliver a message across 5 or 6 different languages with the push of 1 or 2 buttons. So outside of everything else on the left that I just talked about, we can also publish out to endpoints, right? And this is where we start to cross the threshold on the Twitter and Facebook block here into more of publishing for the public and less about targeted messaging. So if you were to so choose, you could take your Twitter account, your Facebook account for your agency, your public facing pages, connect that to Everbridge, and we could push out the content of your broadcast to those 2 endpoints to, again, increase the coverage and increase the likelihood that people are actually going to see your message that you're pushing out.
Great, thanks, Phil. And that 300,000, that's probably some old data back when we first started. So my apologies on that, my friend. And one thing here at the bottom, by default, the Vtlr organization is set up so that we have confirmation. So if you acknowledge the message on one of these modalities, it will stop the escalation process. So you can put in your 10 different ways to be bothered by us over here at VEM, and once you confirm that, you will stop that process. And that actually helps us a lot on the back end of things to just see how successful our message is, how many people are at least opening it enough to confirm the message. So not only public notifications, a big piece of this presentation is really talking about public alerting, again, which is our Vtlr organization. But we have a lot of other applications, some other things, irons in the fire, so to speak, coming down the pike. But specifically to the municipalities, when we implement and roll out VT for your municipality, we also give you access to an internal, what we call the VT Municipalities organization, so that you can set up your own internal group notifications. And some of the applications that we've had, and pretty good use cases and success rates there. Notifications for local road crews for emergent conditions. When I dispatched for 9 years at the Shelburne PD, we had to hand dial in our entire road crew during a snowstorm. This, essentially can take care of all of that. Instead of having to go one by one and just making a phone call, we can send them a text message, an app push, an email, and then a robocall. I guess robocall is not really the best term, but that's what I use. We also can use it for your local emergency operations center activations. We use it here in VEM as our initial activation notification. And then notifications to city and town leadership for emergent situations, state agency folks, emergent staffing needs for disaster response. The Agency of Transportation uses is one of our organizations. They use that as a kind of a polling measure or to call in staff. Safety notifications to employees. I know Jason Goslin is here on the phone. He has done immense work with the Agency of Human Services and their safety program and communicating with all employees of the agency. Special teams deployments. Vermont State Police use this for their special teams, their search and rescue, drug recognition experts, and the list continues, so on and so forth. And then nonprofit organizations responsible for some public safety functions or public safety interests. Employee notifications, again, for dangerous conditions. Some special teams that are kind of built in there. We do have a critical incident stress management team that utilizes this platform. So lots of different use cases, just not only just the public facing side of things.
Again, I think one thing to keep in mind too is if you're chewing on an idea or a way that you think you might be able to leverage Everbridge, or just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be for emergency messaging, right? So if you have an activation process or an SOP that you're trying to figure out how to mobilize everyone toward, we can step in and provide some insights and some guidance on how we might be able to do that. Everbridge is not a replacement, obviously, for those things, but it can fit into those processes to make life a little bit easier for you guys, right? That's always what we want to come away doing, is making things a little bit easier. So don't worry about the emergency use cases. We can help with those, obviously, but the day-to-day operational type of use is really where we're probably going to see a lot of value for anyone that's interested in getting access to Everbridge.
Yeah, great point, Phil. So kind of pulling back and going to our more municipal targets. So towns and cities can adopt and implement Vtlr, again, for that public-facing public safety messaging via the Vtlr organization. We strip you down to limit only to your municipal boundaries, because that is, your constituency. Those are the people that you're responsible for. Some typical types of notifiers: emergency management directors, police and fire officers, highway foremen, dispatchers. And then again, as I am a VEM watch officer, another little shameless plug, if you folks have not adopted or implemented the Vtlr program, you can always request that a Vtlr message be put out on your behalf via the the VEM watch officer. But we're going to get into why you should become and adopt and implement this program here in a little bit. So we have we kind of break this out here internally. VEM, we've talked about this a little bit. Just really for my brain and how I break things out is we have two real notification schemes. Our public broadcasts, which is my brain if I'm thinking the public and anyone that I train, new agencies, new municipalities that are coming on. If you're thinking public, your brain should go to that Vtlr organization. We've talked a little bit about that. With the information over here on the right, we have the iPause capability built in there, reverse E911 data. So every traditional landline in the state is updated quarterly through the enhanced 911 board, so that we have that kind of extra layer there, as well as our opt-in users, our web registered users, people that have gone in and created an account and signed up. And then we also have our group messaging, which is kind of all encompassing of the other organizations, which is really contact list driven. Phil, anything specific on this?
No, I think one thing to keep in mind too is that except in the case of public alerting for Vtlr, any information that's provided into Everbridge is going to be opt-in only, so to speak. So as your agencies or as you present back, the idea of using Everbridge, to the agency that you're a part of, the department you're a part of, there will be those questions around, well, what do you do with my device or my contact information? And if it's not owned by the agency or the device, anything that's provided is going to always be opt-in only. So in terms of privacy concerns and that sort of, what are you doing with my data? One thing to keep in mind, and that frequently comes up when we start a new deployment, any personal devices, emails, whatever it's going to be, that's always going to be stuff that someone has the chance to provide if they want to.
Yep, absolutely. Great point, Phil. So we've talked about the multiple organizations that we have. So Vtlr is one of these organizations, but as you can see here, and I'm not going to read through this list for you, but just a couple of highlights. Vermont Emergency Management, we have our own internal organization, as I said, for our State Emergency Operations Center activations, internal staff notifications, the Vermont State Police, as we've highlighted before, and VTrans for calling in staff during emergency situations. As you can see, we have quite a few, and within some of these, there's even a lot more organizations that fall within that nonprofit internal groups. That organization encompasses a vast amount of organizations and agencies and nonprofits there. So, and then if we were to get my dream in the future, all 251 towns and cities within the state of Vermont into that adopting Vtlr, all of those would live within that Vermont municipalities organization as an internal means of communicating with your staff. All right, so we've talked a little bit about what the system is, how we've kind of organized things, but we didn't really tell you what you can and can't send out. So just real quick, again, I'm not going to read this off because, as you can see, this list is very vast, and this is really specific to the Vtlr organization for our public safety messaging, public facing. So really, if you can, what I tell people, if you can paint it with the public safety brush, and if it passes that litmus test there, it's basically permitted messaging. And then just not permitted, you can't push out to the public via Vtlr, your town meeting notices, town fair picnic notices. So if Rich is going to have his gathering down there in Dummerston, he can't push that out via Vtlr. I know it's sad, but you'll live to grill another day, my friend. And then really one of the highlights here at the bottom is improper use of the reverse E911 data. So why should your municipality, why should your organization, your agency adopt Vtlr and implement it? Well, when we're really talking about public facing messaging, the Vtlr organization, municipalities, I mean, everything starts local and ends local. You guys are going to know your local emergencies far sooner than we are. And if you can get trained staff on hand that are able to send out that notification, that takes out a phone call, takes out a process delay on the back end of things, to push your notification out quickly. You, again, have access to the existing pool, that 32,000 and change number there, which we hope grows every day, which it does. And then also access to the reverse E911 data. And notifying your target population, your constituency, versus from a wide array of delivery methods, as we've already discussed here. And continuing on with, there is 24/7 support via Everbridge. And on that piece right there, Phil is our technical account manager. We have 20 hours a month across the Vermont account that we get Phil for. So if it's something that I can't quite figure out, I have Phil to lean on, and we talk multiple times throughout the week, I promise. And you also get me. This is my full-time job. I'm able to provide training, assist with your implementation process, address issues and concerns. I'm generally reachable at all times. I have my phone on me pretty much everywhere I go. You also have the ability to create templates for quick notifications so you can save them for on the fly. Everbridge is a web-based platform, so anywhere you have internet connection, you're able to send that information out. And then here on the screen, as you can see from my screen recording, there's also the Everbridge App, which enables dispatchers the ability to send notifications from the field, really from anywhere, again, where you have connection. Phil, any comments here, my friend?
Only that, again, we're as good as what we're built on. So if you're in the middle of the woods and you have no access to any connectivity, you probably won't be receiving any messages. You probably won't be sending any out as an administrator. But most of us, I would say now, day to day, have access to some connectivity. So, odds are you'll be able to send out that alert if you need to. And again, I'm here, Ian's here. So as you guys go through and put these things together, these new systems, these new deployments, we'll walk you through it all. Make sure you feel comfortable, get you trained up, train up the other staff. So there's a lot of value here for you to take advantage of as a new deployment. Make sure you guys feel comfortable.
All right, and really the big question I think you all are asking, right, is how do you become a dispatcher? So your agency or municipality will have to complete the implementation process. Excuse me, I'm tripping over my words here. You need to have access to a computer or a smartphone. Again, you're not going to be able to send anything out if you can't connect. Be a trusted individual with your agency or municipality authorization. So they have to say to me that it's okay for you to send that out. And then you got to complete the dispatcher training offered by myself. Phil sometimes jumps in and helps out, or by your agency or municipality. If you're currently working for a municipality that has already implemented Vtlr, those that have been trained can train you. But again, I'm always here to help. Typically it takes about 60 to 90 minutes to complete. It's a lot, especially if it's something that you're not used to doing, kind of on the front end. But as you get more versed and more of a veteran, things become pretty easy. So, and we'll just kind of talk real briefly about the implementation process. Basically, we just set up a quick meeting with myself and your municipality or your agency. We just discuss the system, how the process plays out, address any specific needs or concerns. It's about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how much content we have to go over in the moment, or any questions that you bring to the table. The organization, municipality officially adopts the use of Vtlr as a notification tool. So the governing body of that organization or municipality has to sign off on it. For most municipalities, that's going to be your select board. And then you designate local administrator or administrators is really my go-to, my points of contact when I get requests for new dispatcher access. If we have any issues, I usually go right to those folks. And then we set up some time for training. Again, about an hour to an hour and a half. Can be quick, can be a little longer. I really want to make sure that you folks have all the tools in your toolkit so you can complete the job. I don't want to leave you thinking and wondering more down the road. In a public awareness campaign, Phil's touched on this, we can only be as successful as the ground in which we're built on. So we can deploy this, we can implement this vast and wide, but if we don't have people receiving that information, really what good are we doing? And that's really on the municipality. We can assist that, but we got to inform our residents and to sign up. And then ongoing is the maintenance of the system. Myself and Phil, we work in making sure that the system's maintained. Everbridge works really hard about pushing updates and correcting issues. I offer refresher trainings, and I really do encourage them. It is a perishable skill. And then we can, we just remove or add new dispatchers. And then for the last piece there, we do deploy an internal group setup that the adopting organization is ultimately responsible for maintaining that contact data. All right, Phil, let's talk about just real briefly, because I know that I benefit greatly from knowing what other surrounding areas are doing. How about some other deployments of Everbridge?
Yep. So some of these were kind of mentioned in the bio, but you'll see the logos here. Across Vermont first, most locally. We do work with VDH. We did support some of the COVID contact tracing during the height of the COVID pandemic up in the state. So we worked with the Han to help with that and a couple of other things. We do support the Department of Corrections pretty extensively, both internally for their staff as well as a public alerting capability in the event of an escaped convict. Kind of the most immediate use case there. CT Alert, Notify NYC, Alerts MA, Alert Boston, all are similarly structured alerting capabilities. So public alerting, branded, known throughout the state, hopefully, as a resource to residents and the folks that live there. Let's see, WMATA is Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, so all of the trains that run in DC. The National Capital Region, NCR, they have many different branded versions of NCR alerting. So anytime you're down in DC, you can go ahead and opt into those alerts as a guest. And then State of Oregon, or Alert, we have the state of California, we have the state of Florida. So the list kind of goes on and on. So in the event that, you're not really sure where to start, are we someone that could, use Everbridge for something? Odds are someone somewhere has already tried, tried to use it for the agency that you're a part of or a similarly structured agency. We do pull a lot for messaging and use cases across the technical account manager team. So each one of these that you see has a TAM aligned to it. So I, again, support Notify NYC, Alerts MA, the state of Vermont, city of Boston, all of the agencies within it. So, I can take my questions and go to the TAM for Connecticut and say, hey, how would you do it, down in your state, or have you already done it? Could we do it up in Vermont, right? And we provide coverage for each other and all these things. So lots of things we can pull from, lots of agencies and groups that are already using it, and we're adding more every day. So odds are we can find you some way to start. And you guys have been a leader, like I said, for quite a while at the state level. So I would expect that, any ideas that you guys have going forward, but the equitable messaging piece, again, is another one that's coming to mind. We'll be able to support that and continue to have Vermont be one of the leaders.
And as Phil alluded to, we do have some equitable messaging kind of on the forefront here. With that kind of brings a simplified process of notification using a little bit of a different process. It's called the incident model, where we have predefined templates where it takes a lot of that training down. And predefined templates really help drive that equitable messaging. Automated weather alerting in line with the newest NWS advisories. That happens as we move on and as things change. Air quality alerts, that's actually implemented. That's something that I worked with the Department of Environmental Conservation on. So go in and subscribe if you already have an account, and update your subscription plans. Additional municipal implementation. I want to grow the system to be more robust. So if you are a municipality and you're unsure, or that you're not, and you would like to implement Vtlr, contact me. And also, as Phil has alluded to, contact myself. If you have something on the mind, maybe we can help your organization, your municipality with implementation and rollout. So in respect for everyone's time, I did have a demonstration planned, but I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's near the end of the day, and I wasn't sure how many people were still on. So we will skip ahead to that. We'll save questions here for the lobby. I will be over there. I assume Phil will join me as well for any of your questions. And here's our contact information. So my work email address, that is my work cell phone. Send me a text, shoot me a phone call, shoot me an email, and likewise for Phil over there on the right.